Hi, and welcome to the Oikos Family Podcast. I'm Sonja Wood, and this is Season 3, Episode 10 of the Oikos Family Podcast, whereby I am sharing with you sections of From Chronic and Terminal Illness to Abundant Life. That is a book which I wrote, and I'm sharing it with you here in this podcast series. So if you wanted to listen to any of the others up until this point, because this is now part 9 of the book. So if you wanted to listen to any of the others, you'll be able to find them. They're all listed on the podcast in the library. If you're following the podcast, you will know. Okay, so on to this part of the book. This part is all about building your own veggie garden. Actually, it doesn't go into the huge details of construction and all the rest of it. That I'm sure you will find enough of how to do that on the Google land and YouTube and wherever else. Okay. Anyway, our family built this vegetable garden, and my goodness, how rewarding and how wonderful to have done this task together. So I talk about it more in this part of the book. So I will be putting that here in this podcast for you to listen to more about that. But what's also included in this chapter, or this part of Abundant Life, is our daily diet. Now, this is something that a lot of people asked us about. What do you do for breakfast and lunch and dinner, and how do you keep your diet wholesome and healthy and organic without it emptying the pockets? Because people are very nervous about organic being too expensive. Well, straight away I can tell you about bread. You make your own bread. It's going to cost you less than bought bread, and it's going to be wholesome. So I think sometimes people immediately think organic is so expensive, but when you think you consume half the amount because you're getting so many nutrients while you're eating organically, that you don't actually need as much food. That is how it works. On that, in this part, I speak about seed balls because we made little seed balls, or make little seed balls, which is just a whole lot of different seeds ground up in the blender. The recipe for it is in this section of the book. And that is just raw seeds that we pop into our mouth in this form of this little seed ball. I suppose some might remember having date balls or that kind of little snack from childhood, or maybe you do that for your children now. But the seed balls is something that we did throughout the raising of our children, and we still do. In fact, we went on a road trip not long ago, and I took some jars of seed balls with us, so we didn't have to stop and, get snacks on the way, because our snacks of seed balls was keeping us quite satisfied because of the nutritional value that they have, you see. So anyway, I'm getting stuck on seed balls now, but the recipe for it and all about it is in this part of the book, as well as just outlining our actual daily diet. And what it was then when I wrote the book is pretty much what it's still like today, with some developments such as making sourdough bread and, that growth that has happened. But otherwise, it's pretty much standard of how our general lifestyle diet goes. And I just hope that there's something in here, some small thing, small or big, or many things, or few things, whatever it is, that you might be able to take and bring it into your lifestyle and into your family, and then it will be good. It'll be a good thing for you and for your family. So here you go. Here is part 9, our daily diet. Part 9, Organic Vegetable Garden and Our Daily Diet. If you have as yet not experienced the immense joy of reaping a harvest of organic vegetables from your own back garden, then I strongly suggest you take the time to enjoy a family project of building your own veggie garden. The joy and delight you experience when you are eating the veggies that you have grown yourself is fantastic. When we built our vegetable garden, we simply laid ash bricks on the ground after we had cleared the ground of grass, shrubs, etc. We sadly did have to cut down a couple of trees to make place for our veggie garden. We, however, have much more value now from the veggie garden than we ever did from the trees. Besides, we have many trees on the circumference of our garden. Once we had finally laid all the bricks as we wanted them, in long rows 3 meters by 1.5 meters in size, we then filled them with good soil and compost. We then built a frame around it with poles, and then we laid bird netting over the frame. Not too expensive. We had to do this because if we did not, the monkeys would have been the ones feasting during the harvest. After all the preparation was done, which incidentally only took our family of 4 and the help of my parents 1 weekend to build the entire 7x9 veggie garden, we then began the wonderful process of planting the seedlings. We started with seedlings instead of seeds to give ourselves a head start. We have also found that we do not always have success with everything we plant. Our lettuces were doing well, almost ready to pick, when on arrival at the veggie garden one morning we discovered that cutworm had eaten every lettuce head off. I wanted to cry. Another time we had heavy rain and all our tomatoes went black. Again I wanted to cry. I could not believe how sad I was to see my veggies destroyed. We have learned from these lessons to have a good variety of veggies rather than many of one kind. This way, when we lose something, you learn to look at all the happy growing cabbages and mealies and bell peppers, and then you don't feel so sad over the loss of one of the vegetables. This little insert has been added a year after this veggie garden story was written. I am now very pleased to inform you that our success rate has improved so dramatically that we very seldom lose any crop, and we never add any form of chemical or special hormones, nothing, just good soil and a well-tended veggie garden. If we see a cutworm feasting, we simply go on a cutworm hunt to remove them. It is very worthwhile persevering through your veggie growing. Not only are we experiencing such value from our garden, but an added blessing is to see the children take an interest in it, to such a point that we are sure we will see veggie gardens in their own gardens one day. The intention for this book is not for it to be about vegetable gardening. There are so many good books on veggie gardens available, from libraries and bookstores. I would suggest you get a very simple book to inspire you on developing your own veggie garden. The intention of this section in this book, however, is to share with you the importance of eating organically as far as you are able. We all know that the vast amount of fruit and vegetables we buy today are chemically treated. Fortunately, however, organic farming is becoming more popular, which is wonderful. But we want to encourage you to develop your very own organic vegetable garden because of all the reasons we have mentioned. Organic food has so many benefits to building healthy cells in your body. Organic eating was one of the key factors which helped heal my body of cancer and my children from suffering with chronic illness. Once we introduced organic food into our diets, the healing began. We could feel strength and health return to our bodies. In our experience, organic food is an essential element to the road to health. Our daily diet. I mentioned earlier in this book that I would give you an idea of our daily diet patterns. These we follow on a regular basis, with the odd exceptions, such as when we are traveling. But even then, we do our best to maintain our good eating habits. We also do not stick rigidly to our daily diet rules when we are invited out. We eat what has been served even if it is something we would usually avoid. This we do because we feel it would be polite to the host and hostess, but also because we want to be an example to the children by showing them that everything in life must be done with a balance and in moderation. It is never healthy to become fanatical over anything. Yet when I was seriously ill, we had no option but to tell people that I was unable to eat whatever it was they were serving. This was understood due to my condition at the time. So on with the daily diet. Breakfast. A long glass of filter water. This is a good start to the day. Thereafter, we have either fresh fruit or freshly squeezed fruit juice, which we make in about 10 minutes in the juicer. The freshly squeezed fruit juice is specifically helpful for children to start the day with because all the nutrients from the juice and all veggies goes directly into their bloodstream without having to pass through the whole digestive process. We often add carrots, celery, and cucumber to the fruit juice. When I first started this, the children were unaware that I was slipping vegetables into their fruit juice in the morning. The general rule for juicing is to keep veggies together and fruits together, but to add a bit of sweetness to a veggie drink, you can add some apple. For example, I would juice 5 carrots and 1 apple per glass for their breakfast drink. It is always better to make the juice and drink it immediately, as the enzymes die after about 30 minutes. However, if you put your juice in the fridge and drink it throughout the day, you will still gain the value of the many vitamins and nutrients. You are doing your children a big service giving them the start to the day, rather than a sugar high with a bowl of cereal, only which will be followed by a sugar low thereafter. We then have a bowl of the following: raw oats, pumpkin seeds, linseeds, sesame seeds, raw bran, wheat germ, a few almonds, and a multi-mineral vitamin amino acids supplement powder. Greg likes to pour boiling water over the above and leave it to soak with a few raisins and honey to sweeten it. He likes the hot water to release the oils in the seeds. I, however, prefer to have mine all raw with a few spoons of plain yogurt and honey to sweeten. The quantities of the above are all dependent on the individual needs. For example, I do not suggest children have too much raw bran because it could make their colons lazy, as the colon can become dependent on the help of the bran. I have more linseed than Greg has, and so on. Work out what suits each individual and what they need. The reason for this raw breakfast mix in the mornings is that each and every one of the above ingredients is a healthy ingredient for your body. For example, the oats is good for the skin and for cleaning the colon. The linseed is excellent for your essential oils. The sesame seeds are a hormonal balancer and high in calcium. The pumpkin seeds are an excellent cancer fighter because they are green. Again, this is not a nutrition book. I shall not go into the details of why natural seeds and nuts are so full of nutritional value. I'm sure you will find a listing of each breakfast ingredient mentioned and their value in any nutritional book. Missy prefers to have the breakfast mix in the form of a seed ball, for she finds it more manageable to eat a seed ball in the morning rather than a bowl of the breakfast plan, so she still has the benefit of the necessary raw seeds and nuts. I share this to say that it is important to work out each individual's preferences while at the same time working towards encouraging a healthier lifestyle. We do our best to help each individual reach the optimum plan for healthy living. For James, it was a story that he could relate to, as it worked for him because of the age that he was at the time of our radical dietary changes. And now about those seed balls. I put all the ingredients from the breakfast plan into a blender, the quantities being 2 cups of jungle oats and then half a cup of each of the other seeds and nuts. I then add enough melted butter to ball the mixture and a few tablespoons of honey. I'll roll this into small balls, then place it in the fridge, and it sets. We have these little seed balls as a snack during the day. They are sweet and delicious, and after 2 of them you feel so satisfied. The body truly appreciates food which is wholesome and good for you. I tell the children, can you feel your cells dancing with joy now that you've eaten your seed balls? After being bedridden for so long, I literally felt the health returning to my bones, just as God said and promised. That is why I describe this now as my cells dancing with joy. It is as if they really are. I hope you have noticed by now that before we have even reached our main meal of the day, which we have at lunchtime, our bodies have already only had fresh and raw food. Try to include in your morning eating a whole fruit of some kind. Fruit should preferably be eaten on an empty stomach for optimum benefit, as the digestion and absorption to the bloodstream is not inhibited when fruit is eaten on an empty stomach. This makes fresh fruit a very good in-between meal snack. Our main meal. At our main meal, we usually stick to our rule of 75% of the food on the plate must be raw. For example, we could have 2 salads and a baked potato, or 2 salads and a piece of grilled fish, with a fresh lemon to squeeze over the top. We may sometimes have a salad and a cooked vegetable, such as butternut. When we have pasta, I add a sauce to the pasta with raw vegetables, cut small and then tossed in. The veggies in the pasta do not need to be cooked. This gives the pasta a lovely crunch texture, and of course, when the veggies are all raw, they have so much more flavor. A good raw, high nutritionist food is sprouts. I often toss these into salads, soups, pastas just before serving. So again, even if the meal is cooked, such as a pasta, to add fresh raw sprouts increases its nutritional content so dramatically. An excellent main meal, especially in the summer months, is all salads with sprouts and nuts. we bought a few salad and sprouting recipe books to give us inspiration for new ideas. We may snack in the afternoon with either homemade rusks with tea or another seed ball or a piece of fresh fruit. Our homemade rusk recipe is at the end of this chapter. I must add here that the more raw food you eat, the more it cleans your palate and so developing your taste buds and heightening their sensitivity, so that very soon you begin to decipher food items which are very clearly full of additives and harmful chemicals. And now to supper. Or for some, it could be lunch. For supper, we usually have the bread which I made in the morning, with something healthy on it, such as tomato, lettuce, cucumber, or we may have a couple of slices of toast. Because our lighter meal is in the evening, we have what most people may have for lunch or breakfast, such as toast or a sandwich. It has been fun learning to make the various toast veggie spreads such as hummus, bell pepper spread, and so on. Sprouts on toast is delicious and packed with nutrients. You'll be amazed at how potently powerful little sprouts are because they are the new first shoots of a seed. They have the full strength of their nutrients. Buy a few new recipe and sprout books from your local health shop to inspire you. We also often, 3 to 4 times a week, have soup as our lighter meal in the evenings. We make a huge variety of soups and have done some studies to learn how beneficial soup is to the body as it acts as a detox cleanser. We've also learned to put raw veggies into a blender and blend them until they are almost liquid and then add boiling water with a few spoons of inner palm and stock added. This is the only pure natural stock we could find. I add the stock to the boiling water and then add the blended raw veggie mixture and we have ourselves a hot, but raw, soup. Don't forget to throw in a handful of sprouts as well. Again, the body rejoices when we treat it so kindly. Time for the cells to celebrate once more. Now drinks. We have filter water, freshly squeezed fruit or veggies, tea and coffee. We've also learned to make a variety of wonderful iced teas. I boil in a big glass pot a handful of loose rooibos tea leaves. Thereafter we add a few generous sprigs of mint and honey or freshly squeezed fruit juice for a variety of flavors. A very refreshing and completely healthy drink is iced tea. We used to have it mostly in the summer months, but now it is our standard cold drink throughout the year. Because tea bags have benzene in them, we avoid them and buy loose tea leaves in bulk. We also buy coffee beans in bulk and roast them and grind them. We have found an excellent source of these items and purchasing this way is a saving. I have bought a couple of lovely teapots with strainers which drop into them to hold the tea leaves and so allow us to make tea without having to use a strainer when pouring. The teapots were expensive, but once again I have learned that we cannot put a price on health. When all your medical aid funds are used up with a chronically ill child, you learn how to value investing your money into health rather than the repair needed when we do not take care of it. More about sprouts. You can grow your own crop of powerful nutrition on your windowsill. We grow our own sprouts. It is extremely easy. I simply put sprout seeds into a large glass jar and cover them with water overnight. The next day, I cover the opening of the jar with a muslin cloth held on with an elastic band. Every day thereafter, I rinse the sprouts under the filter water tap, then turn the jar upside down so the rinse water can run out through the muslin lid. I leave them to drain for a few minutes so they are still a little moist, and then place them back on the windowsill. Depending on which sprout seeds we are using, they are usually ready for eating within the week. When sprouted, I leave them to dry thoroughly by spreading them out on a rack. Thereafter, I place them in a glass container in the fridge. And here is my rusk recipe. 7 cups of brown flour, 1 or 2 cups of bran, 7 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt. And then a blend of the following: 1 cup of roasted sunflower seeds, half a cup of roasted sesame seeds, 1 cup of chopped roasted nuts, 1 cup of coconut, 1 cup of raisins. Add the above to the flour mixture and then add a cup of brown sugar or honey. Mix together 2 eggs, 2 cups of yogurt, 1 cup of melted butter. Mix all together until they're well blended and add more yogurt if necessary to make a soft consistency. Place this mixture onto a well-greased baking tin and bake for 30 to 40 minutes in a 180-degree oven. Cool and cut into rusk sizes and place back in the oven about 100 degrees Celsius for a couple hours for them to dry out. About roasting the seeds. I just roast my seeds in a hot pan on the stove. Raw seeds are healthier, but roasting them does give a wonderful flavor. However, it is best to leave them raw.